Right now, as you're watching this video, your body might be sending you urgent warning signals about diabetes that you're completely missing. In fact, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, over 7 million Americans are living with undiagnosed diabetes, and many of them are experiencing symptoms they've dismissed as just getting older, being stressed, or simply having bad luck with their health. What if I told you that the weird skin patches you've noticed, that constant need to clear your throat, or even the way your vision seems slightly off when you're tired could all be your body's desperate attempt to tell you something crucial about your blood sugar? Today we're going to explore 10 unexpected symptoms that could reveal hidden diabetes, symptoms so subtle that even healthcare providers sometimes overlook them during routine checkups. Before we dive in, let me share something that might surprise you. The World Health Organization reports that diabetes cases have quadrupled since 1980. But here's the really shocking part. Most people don't develop the classic symptoms we all know about until their condition has already progressed significantly. The excessive thirst, frequent urination, and unexplained weight loss that we typically associate with diabetes, those are actually late-stage warning signs. Your body is incredibly intelligent, and it starts whispering long before it has to shout. The problem is, we've become so disconnected from these subtle signals that we miss them entirely. What I'm about to share with you could potentially save your life, or the life of someone you love, because early detection of diabetes doesn't just prevent complications. It can actually reverse the progression of the disease in many cases. Let's start with something that happens to millions of people every single day, yet almost no one connects it to blood sugar issues. Have you ever noticed that your gums bleed when you brush your teeth, even though you maintain decent oral hygiene? The National Institute of Dental and Craniofacial Research has established a clear connection between diabetes and gum disease. But here's what most people don't realize. The gum problems often show up years before any obvious diabetes symptoms appear. When your blood sugar levels are consistently elevated, even by small amounts, it creates the perfect environment for bacteria to thrive in your mouth. Your gums become inflamed, they bleed more easily, and you might notice that your breath has a slightly different smell, sometimes described as fruity or sweet. This happens because your saliva composition actually changes when your blood glucose is out of balance. But here's where it gets really interesting. Research published in the Journal of Periodontology shows that people with gum disease are twice as likely to develop type 2 diabetes. And people with diabetes are 3 times more likely to develop severe gum disease. It's a vicious cycle that your body is trying to break by sending you these early warning signals. Now let's talk about something that affects your largest organ: your skin. Have you ever noticed dark, velvety patches of skin, usually in areas where your skin folds, like your neck, armpits, or groin area? Most people think this is just a cosmetic issue, maybe related to weight gain or poor hygiene. But this condition, called acanthosis nigricans, is actually one of the most reliable early indicators of insulin resistance and prediabetes. According to research from Harvard Medical School, up to 74% of adults with acanthosis nigricans have diabetes or prediabetes. These dark patches occur because when your body becomes resistant to insulin, your pancreas produces more insulin to compensate. This excess insulin stimulates the growth of skin cells and increases melanin production, creating these distinctive dark, thick areas of skin. The fascinating thing is that these skin changes can appear years before your blood sugar tests show obvious abnormalities. Your skin is essentially serving as a window into what's happening with your insulin sensitivity, giving you a chance to take action before more serious complications develop. Here's another symptom that's so common, most people never think to mention it to their doctor. Do you find yourself getting unusually hungry shortly after eating a meal, especially one that contained carbohydrates? This isn't just about having a big appetite or poor portion control. When your body starts losing its ability to properly process glucose, you experience what researchers call reactive hypoglycemia. The National Institute of Health explains this process beautifully. When you eat, especially foods high in refined carbohydrates, your blood sugar spikes higher than it should because your cells aren't responding properly to insulin. Your pancreas then overcompensates by releasing too much insulin, which causes your blood sugar to crash below normal levels. This crash triggers intense hunger signals, often accompanied by shakiness, irritability, or difficulty concentrating. What makes this particularly tricky is that people often respond to this hunger by eating more carbohydrates. which starts the whole cycle over again. You might find yourself in a constant battle with food cravings, never feeling satisfied, and wondering why your willpower seems so weak. The truth is, it's not about willpower at all. It's your body's metabolic system sending distress signals. Now let's discuss something that affects your daily comfort and energy levels in ways you might never have connected to blood sugar. Have you been experiencing more frequent yeast infections, urinary tract infections, or other recurring infections that seem to clear up with treatment but then come back again? The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has documented that people with diabetes are significantly more susceptible to infections because elevated blood sugar levels suppress immune function. But here's the part that most people miss. You don't need to have obviously high blood sugar for this to happen. Even slightly elevated glucose levels create an environment where harmful bacteria and fungi can thrive. Your white blood cells don't function as effectively when they're constantly bathed in excess sugar, making it harder for your body to fight off infections that a healthy immune system would handle easily. Women in particular might notice recurring vaginal yeast infections, while both men and women might experience frequent UTIs, skin infections that heal slowly, or cuts and scrapes that take longer than usual to heal. These aren't just annoying inconveniences, they're your immune system waving a red flag, trying to get your attention about what's happening with your blood sugar regulation. Let's move on to something that affects your daily interactions and might be impacting your relationships without you realizing it. Have you noticed changes in your mood, particularly increased irritability, anxiety, or what some people describe as feeling constantly on edge? Research from the American Diabetes Association shows that blood sugar fluctuations have a direct impact on neurotransmitter function in your brain. When your blood glucose is unstable, it affects the production and regulation of serotonin, dopamine, and other brain chemicals that control mood, focus, and emotional stability. You might find yourself snapping at family members over small things, feeling overwhelmed by situations that normally wouldn't bother you, or experiencing anxiety that seems to come from nowhere. Many people, especially women going through hormonal changes, attribute these mood shifts to stress, hormones, or just the challenges of modern life. While those factors certainly play a role, unstable blood sugar often amplifies these feelings significantly. The mood swings aren't just in your head. They're a legitimate physiological response to metabolic dysfunction that could be indicating the early stages of diabetes. Here's a symptom that's particularly relevant for anyone who spends time in front of screens, which includes most of us in today's world. Have you noticed that your vision seems to fluctuate throughout the day, sometimes clear, sometimes slightly blurry, particularly when you're tired or stressed? Most people assume this is just eye strain or the need for glasses, but fluctuating blood sugar levels actually cause the lens in your eye to swell and contract. The National Eye Institute explains that when glucose levels in your blood are elevated, glucose also increases in the fluids of your eye. This changes the shape of your lens temporarily, affecting your ability to focus clearly. What makes this particularly confusing is that the blurriness often comes and goes. So you might have perfect vision during an eye exam, but still experience these fluctuations throughout your daily life. This is different from the more serious diabetic eye complications that develop later. This is your eye essentially serving as a glucose meter, giving you real-time feedback about your blood sugar stability. If you're experiencing these vision fluctuations, along with any of the other symptoms we've discussed, it's definitely worth investigating further. Now let's talk about something that affects your energy levels and might be the reason you've been struggling with afternoon crashes or feeling like you need more caffeine to get through the day. Do you find that you feel exhausted, almost like you're running on empty even after getting adequate sleep? This isn't the same as normal tiredness after a busy day. This is a deep cellular level fatigue that occurs when your cells can't effectively use glucose for energy. According to research published in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism, when your body becomes insulin resistant, glucose can't enter your cells efficiently, even though there's plenty of it circulating in your bloodstream. It's like having a car with a full gas tank but a clogged fuel line. The energy is there, but your cells can't access it properly. This cellular energy crisis affects every system in your body, but you feel it most acutely as persistent fatigue that doesn't improve with rest, coffee, or even vacation time. You might notice that you feel particularly drained after meals, especially those containing carbohydrates. because your body is working overtime trying to process glucose that your cells can't properly utilize. Here's something that might surprise you because it seems completely unrelated to blood sugar, but bear with me because the connection is fascinating. Have you been experiencing more frequent headaches? Particularly ones that seem to correlate with when you eat or haven't eaten. The relationship between blood glucose and headaches is so well established that the International Headache Society recognizes hypoglycemic headaches as a specific type of secondary headache disorder. When your blood sugar drops too low, whether because of delayed meals, reactive hypoglycemia, or early insulin resistance, your brain literally doesn't have enough fuel to function optimally. Your brain uses more glucose than any other organ in your body, consuming about 20% of your total glucose supply. When that supply becomes unstable, headaches are often the first symptom you'll notice. But here's where it gets interesting for people with developing diabetes. You might also experience headaches when your blood sugar is elevated because high glucose levels cause inflammation in blood vessels, including those in your brain. So you could be getting headaches both when your blood sugar is too low and when it's too high, creating a confusing pattern that seems unrelated to food or eating habits. Let's discuss a symptom that affects your comfort and quality of life in ways that might be impacting your sleep, your work performance, and your overall well-being. Have you been experiencing tingling, numbness, or a pins and needles sensation in your hands, feet, or other extremities? Most people assume this is related to poor circulation, sleeping in an awkward position, or maybe carpal tunnel syndrome from computer work. However, the American Diabetes Association identifies peripheral neuropathy as one of the most common complications of diabetes, and it can begin years before diabetes is officially diagnosed. When blood glucose levels are consistently elevated, even by small amounts, it damages the small blood vessels that supply nutrients to your nerves. This damage typically starts in your longest nerves first, which is why symptoms usually begin in your feet and hands. The tricky part is that this nerve damage is often irreversible once it reaches a certain point, but it's completely preventable if caught early. Those tingling sensations are your nervous system's way of asking for help before permanent damage occurs. If you're experiencing these symptoms along with others we've discussed, early intervention could save you from years of chronic pain and disability. Finally, let's talk about a symptom that might seem embarrassing to discuss, but affects millions of people and can significantly impact intimate relationships and overall quality of life. Have you noticed changes in your sexual function, including decreased libido, difficulty becoming aroused, or problems with sexual performance? Research from the Journal of Sexual Medicine shows that sexual dysfunction is often one of the earliest signs of diabetes in both men and women, occurring years before other obvious symptoms develop. What makes this particularly important is that sexual function is often a barometer for overall vascular health. The same blood vessel damage that affects sexual function is also occurring in your heart, kidneys, eyes, and other vital organs. Addressing these symptoms early doesn't just improve your intimate life, it could prevent heart disease, stroke, and other serious complications down the road. Now that we've explored these 10 unexpected symptoms, you might be wondering what to do if you recognize several of them in your own life. The most important thing to understand is that having some of these symptoms doesn't necessarily mean you have diabetes, but it does mean your body is trying to communicate something important about your metabolic health. The first step is to get proper testing, but here's something crucial that many people don't know. Standard blood glucose tests that doctors typically order only show your blood sugar at one moment in time, and they're usually done when you're fasting. These tests can miss prediabetes and early diabetes because your blood sugar might be normal when you haven't eaten but elevated throughout the day after meals. Ask your healthcare provider about getting a hemoglobin A1C test, which shows your average blood sugar over the past 3 months, and consider requesting a glucose tolerance test, which shows how your body responds to a glucose load. These tests provide a much more complete picture of your blood sugar regulation than a simple fasting glucose test. If your tests do show elevated blood sugar or prediabetes, remember that this is not a life sentence. Unlike type 1 diabetes, which is an autoimmune condition, type 2 diabetes and prediabetes are largely lifestyle-related conditions that can often be prevented, managed, or even reversed through targeted interventions. The most powerful tools you have are the foods you choose to eat, how you move your body, the quality of your sleep, and how you manage stress. Research from the Diabetes Prevention Program, one of the largest diabetes prevention studies ever conducted, showed that people at high risk for diabetes reduced their risk by 58% through modest lifestyle changes. What's particularly encouraging is that you don't need to make drastic changes all at once. Small, consistent improvements in your diet, adding regular physical activity, prioritizing sleep, and managing stress can have profound effects on your blood sugar regulation and overall health. The symptoms we've discussed today are your body's early warning system, giving you the opportunity to take action before more serious health problems develop. By paying attention to these subtle signals and taking proactive steps to support your metabolic health, you're not just preventing diabetes. You're investing in decades of better health, more energy, and improved quality of life. Remember, your body is incredibly resilient and has an amazing capacity for healing when given the right support. Those whispered warnings we talked about at the beginning of this video, they're not just alerts about problems, they're invitations to make changes that could transform your health in ways you never imagined possible. If this information has been helpful to you, I encourage you to share it with the people you care about, because early detection and prevention of diabetes isn't just about individual health, it's about creating healthier communities and families. Knowledge is power, but only when it's put into action. Take care of yourself, listen to your body, and remember that small steps taken consistently can lead to remarkable transformations in your health and well-being.